So as you log on, here's our welcome for this morning. And what I'm going to ask everybody to do this morning as our Hineni, can you see this slide, everybody? Okay, what I'd like you to do this morning to prepare ourselves to be together and to be present is in the chat, put one thing that you need to put in the trash, and that's metaphorically or literally, so that you can be present for our session this morning and or for the whole week to come. So everyone should begin to think about that prompt, please. And the chat should start filtering in. Oh, there are 21 people on already. Good morning, everyone who's here. 4 times 4 is 16, and I only see 15 people. Where's the 21? Oh, maybe people are just getting in now. Hi, Sandy, great background.
My son just had his class, so I'm gonna
Good morning, good morning. As you're logging in, please see the prompt that will help us be present for this morning. One thing I need to put in the trash, and that's metaphorically or literally, in order to be present for us as a community this morning, and maybe you can think of it to extend that for you to be ready for this new week. So hopefully chat's gonna start populating with everybody's trash. Good morning, Gretchen. And while I'm saying good morning, I see Rebecca Lieberman. Hi, I just wanna, you're not somebody I, oh, it's Jane. Why does it say Rebecca Lieberman? Change your name, my friend.
Okay, I will do that, so.
Great. And Renee, that's not Renee Rudnick, is it? Who's Renee? Renee, introduce yourself, please. Renee, can't hear you. Renee, are you listening? And whoever's Rebecca with just the one name, I know you. Which Rebecca are you?
Rebecca Winters.
Oh, yes, of course. We just met last week, correct. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lori, hi.
Hi.
Good morning. So anyone else I don't know?
Sorry, Marion, there's someone named Alyssa on with no last name.
That's Elisa Levine.
Thank you. Is that Alice?
No, Elisa Levine from Temple Aliyah.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, and Rebecca Winters is from Temple Isaiah. And I think you know everybody else, except Renee. Who are you? Please introduce yourself.
And who was Rebecca Lieberman?
Rebecca, it's Jane Shapiro. She's my colleague from Chicago. She had the wrong name on her thing. Renee, can you please, I'm unmuting you. Can you, wait, why are you muted still?
It is Renee Rudnick.
Oh, Renee, your head was like this. I couldn't see. So that's Renee Rudnick. Hi, good morning. Boker Tov. Okay, welcome everybody. Wonderful to be in community again this morning. Obviously, if you'd like to introduce yourself to each other, please do so in the chat. It looks to me like our only non-Bostonian this morning, two non-Bostonians is Jane from Chicago and Beth, who's been on every one of these calls, I believe, our alum, a Hebrew College alum from 2017, and Beth's gonna provide us with the bracha at the end today. So I am going to, no, I'm not gonna stop sharing screen because I wanna show the agenda. And then I will stop sharing the screen so I can see what's going on in the chat as well. So just to remind everybody, here's our agenda for this morning. I hope everyone's dumped their trash. Give me a thumbs up because I can't see the chat while I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so we'll finish up the Hineni moment as when I finish. No, okay, here we go. If everyone's dumped their trash, to really be present now, I'd like everybody to like breathe it out. You dumped it in the chat, now just get rid of it. Get rid of it. And now that you're rid of it, move your shoulders around, move your tushy around a little bit, make yourselves comfortable. I really urge people not to just be sitting in your chair all day. I don't know if you can tell, but I do much of my Zoom standing, and it really makes a huge difference for my back and I think also for my peace of mind. So is everybody present now? Great. And now we're going to apply what we learned last time with our colleague friend Oren. In order for us to really be present, we have to bring a moment of togetherness, and our slogan that Oren taught us to help us come together is V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. And so let's first love ourselves with a hug. Everybody give yourself a hug because you love yourself and you're ready to be present for us. Now let's give a wiggle out to l're'echa, to all of our friends here. We're welcoming everybody in, sending our energy to everybody. And now, kamocha, we are one big community. Let's give each other a hug. Everybody stretch your arms out of the Zoom window and give us a hug as a community. All right, great, great, welcome. So here's our agenda for today. We're very privileged to have Rabbi Marcia Plum, the senior rabbi, of course, at Congregation Mishkan Tefillah here in Boston, but also, as many of you may know, she is an expert and world-renowned, I believe, expert on Musar, and she's going to do a little teaching for us today, thinking about today in the Omer, which according to the Kabbalists, of course, today is Netzach Sheba Yesod, and Marcia will walk us through that. Michael will then share a few more minutes of Torah and frame our conversation this morning with 5 things in Torah, excuse me. Then we're going to get into the meat of our conversation today, really thinking about how will we, and our institutions meet new challenges coming out from the things we've learned during these last number of months. And I've been privileged to invite 3 of our colleagues to be on the panel this morning. Rabbi Mordechai Rackover, who in my screen is underneath Michael to the left. Mordechai is the education director at Temple Israel in Sharon. Eileen Beckman, who's actually right next to me in the top box. Eileen is the education director at Temple Emmanuel in Newton, and Tracy Cranston, who I'm not seeing in her box right this second. Oh, she's next to me, the left, and she's the ed director in Peabody. Tracy, Temple Tiferet Israel, is that the title? Tiferet Israel. Okay, so our 3 panelists, and then we'll have their presentations and a group discussion. And then of course we'll close with our bracha. Oh, and I see, don't look at Beth's last name on that slide. I must have deleted it as I was typing it, but Beth Penamacor, who is the educator and cantor at Beit Hayam in Stuart, Florida, and also a Hebrew College alum. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and I'm gonna turn it over to Marcia to begin with some beautiful thoughts from Musar.
Good morning, everybody. It's really lovely to join this amazing group of thinkers and educators and singers and prayers and leaders in the community. Some of you I know, some of you I don't, but it's really nice to be here. I'm going to invite us to start with just a very, very, very brief moment of prayer. We're just going to say the Shema together. So I'm just going to invite you, and then we're going to link it to Netzach Sheba Yesod, the Omer spiritual focus for today. So let's just start with that moment of prayer. So just take a moment, take a deep breath, and in whatever way, I'm going to invite us to all sing together. Oh, you're muted. Is it possible to unmute everybody, or does everybody, if you've got a lot of noise going on around you, then stay muted? If not, then I'm going to invite us to sing the Shema together very, very, very softly. Sing softly, then then Zoom allows us to sing together. Okay, so if you'll unmute, but if you know that you've got noise, mute yourself. So I invite us just to take a minute, deep breath. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And that's where we're stopping. We're not going to continue with the rest of the Shema. We're just going to hold on to those words. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, as our symbol in a way for the counting of the Omer today. Today is the 39th day of the Omer, and the spiritual focus is this week. The focus has been Yesod, which means connectivity, connection, and bonding and foundation. So it depends on how you perceive it. But today we're going to use Yesod as connectivity, but also and bonding. And Netzach is determination, endurance, persistence. It's kind of like Elizabeth Warren's "and she persisted." You know, Netzach is her midah, as it were. So what does endurance, persistence, and determination and connectivity and the Shema have to do with each other for today? So today in Musar, Musar is about taking an idea, something that we know we need to do to refine our souls, to become more holy, taking that desire to shift something in ourselves that needs to be shifted, and working on that in particular ways and practicing it in our daily lives. So today we're just going to focus on using Netzach, using determination and connectivity together. So today, what I'm focusing on anyway is using the Shema and saying that what I want to focus on today is to listen. Shema. I want to make a decision to have oh, you might want to mute everybody again.
Debbie, can you do that, please? Deb, are you with us? Can you mute Lisa, please?
Marion, I'm here, but I'm not the host. You are.
Oh, but okay.
Did everybody mute themselves? Thank you. Great. It is not easy to listen, to really listen to what someone else is saying. It is not easy to separate our own desires, our own thoughts, our own judgments, the things we want to say, the way our mind wanders when someone else is talking, like what might be happening right now to you while I'm talking. It takes persistence and determination to really listen to another person, to really listen to our students' needs, to really listen to our children's needs, not hear them say what we want them to say or what we think they should say, but really listen to what they're saying. It's like child-centered education, really hearing, setting aside what's going on in our heads to open ourselves to really listen to what the other person is saying. So a spiritual practice, a Musar spiritual practice for today would be when someone speaks to us today, when we hear someone speaking, to put our own thoughts aside and focus fully on what the other person is saying, as if in the next hour that y'all are together, that could be a spiritual practice, is saying that when someone else is speaking, nothing else exists in the world except the connection between me and that other person. So I'm going to truly listen to that other person because there's nothing else to listen to. My thoughts don't exist. Nothing else exists except this moment in this time with this person. And that's true listening. And that's part of the Shema. And it takes incredible netzach, incredible determination to be able, and persistence to be able to do that. It's a spiritual practice of truly listening to another. Shema Yisrael, the Yisrael is the connectivity, that when we truly listen to someone else and see that they're the only person that exists in the world, then we have a bond with that person that exists like nothing else. We know those experiences when we're with someone and it feels like we're the most important person to them, that they're really paying attention to us and that we have their full attention. How wonderful that feels, how we feel so seen and heard, and how we feel more alive and connected. That's what the gift we're going to give somebody else today. That's the gift we're going to give each other today, is that sense that no one else matters except the person in front of us. Finally, the third word, we're not going to do the whole Shema, but the third word is Adonai. My God, that Netzach Sheba Yesod is also about allowing what we need in as well. And that the one who listens to us, who gives us our full attention, is the God that we have faith in, that we connect with. So today, Netzach Sheba Yesod is also opening up to the possibility, the belief that we have a mysterious presence that is paying full attention to me today, to us today. And so therefore, when we have needs today, we can speak them to God, or whatever that word means to you, whatever that presence is, that comforting, sheltering presence that is fully listening to us, so that our needs can be heard today as well. I'd like to conclude. I think I'm almost, do I have another minute, Miriam? One more minute. So I want to conclude with one of my favorite meditations that is linked to Netzach Sheba Yesod, that I really love, that is about listening to others and helping me maintain the determination I need to really fully listen to another. So here's the meditation. Eternal God, you know better than I know myself that I'm getting older and will someday be old. Keep me from the fatal habit of thinking I must say something on every subject and on every occasion. Release me from craving to straighten out everybody's affairs. Make me thoughtful but not moody, helpful but not bossy. Keep my mind from the recital of endless details. Give me wings to get to the point. Seal my lips on my aches and pains. Teach me the glorious lesson that I occasionally may be mistaken. Give me the ability to see good things in unexpected places and talents in unexpected people. And give me, O God, the grace to tell them. Amen. I wish us a good day of connection, of listening, and of strength to create a whole world in each interaction we have together today. Amen.
Yasha Kochech, Marcia, beautiful way to start the morning, beautiful way to think about the Netzach Sheba Yesod, the perseverance, the determination that we have rooted in ourselves and rooted in our tradition. Yasha Kochech. Amen. Now people are saying in the chat. Okay. Hi, everybody. Something came up in the chat. Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Marion. Wonderful to be with you all. Wonderful to be with Jane, who's coming from Chicago. It's lovely to see you again. and all of our friends and colleagues around Boston and Beth in Florida. We actually we're counting up the days to Shavuot, as we say, through this counting of the Omer, and it's coming to an end, sadly, because we're going to get to Shavuot. And when we get there, we will think about the giving of Torah, Matan Torah, and as you know, we do that in a chunk of 5, the 5 books of the Torah, 5 books of Moses, and this this idea of 5 comes to break up the Torah that we have into these different sections. And of course, this week we're beginning in the 4th one, Bamidbar, with Parashat this week on Shabbat. So we have this idea that we can divide these big ideas into smaller chunks, and we can learn Torah in smaller ways. We can find our own piece of Torah. We can find the little chunks, little pieces of light that do illuminate our truth and the way in which we understand the way in which the world works and the way in which we work with the world. I'm just writing a piece for Hebrew College, which will come out, I think, next week, on this idea of Torah min hashamayim. And we've used this phrase a lot in the past, and it's always a difficult one because I'm not quite sure what it means. What do we mean that the Torah comes from heaven? And what is that Torah? Is it all of the oral Torah and all of the written Torah? Is it just the 10 Commandments? Is it just the silent aleph of the first word of the 10 Commandments? What is this Matan Torah? And when we think about what this revelation is all about, we know that our tradition teaches us that not everything was revealed. It wasn't all given at Sinai. Some of it was held back. Some of it is concealed as well. And the Zohar, the Kabbalistic tradition, reminds us that there are things that are hidden in the things that are revealed, whether it's the letters of the alphabet themselves, the flames of the black fire. All of these things are mysteries, and they are part of what Matan Torah is all about. We can't know everything. We can only know the small bits of light that are illuminated to us. And I suppose I was reflecting on the fact that in the last couple of months, we've all been hidden away. We've all been concealed in our homes. And yet, in that concealment, we've also learned some new things, some revelation. Things have been revealed to us that weren't clear before, that weren't so obvious, that weren't apparent to us. Bird song outside of our windows every morning. Who knew there were so many birds around our houses? Little creatures, bunny rabbits in the garden, squirrels, all kinds of things that are coming out to play that we hadn't seen perhaps as evidently as before. Blue sky, and no jet stream trails in the clouds, just sky and clouds. So we're beginning to see new things that are of old, that are mysterious in the fact that we've been hidden away. Other people have found connections. Marsha was talking about connections with family and friends in a new way, reaching out to people in Australia and in California and even in other places locally that we just haven't connected with well in the past. And we've done that because we've been hidden away and we wanted to make the connection. And we've done that through our desire to find that connection in our new technology. And other people have found love. Even in being hidden away, being concealed, they found love. My sister announced her engagement last Friday, and she was sealed away with her man and decided that they would get engaged. So amazing things to be found that were once concealed and now revealed. Marion, if you want to put up the slide that I've got. Windows on the world, we might call this slide. I'm still waiting for it to come up. Is it up yet? I can't see it, not yet. Here we go. It's a slide, I don't know if anyone recognizes this, it's the Venetian Ghetto. And if you've been there and you know how beautiful and wonderful the ghetto is from the late 16th century, and here's the square in front of the ghetto. Well, when the ghetto was built, as you know, the Jews chose to be there. It was a place near the foundry where Jews wanted to live, and they created their homes and their synagogues and their schools in this very square. And the one unusual thing about the ghetto is that the synagogues are hidden. If you've been there, you know that you have to go into the buildings, you have to climb up the stairs. Synagogues on the first and the second floor, third floor sometimes, they are unusually upstairs. That's not the norm for us. We normally have our synagogues on the ground floor. But here in Venice, the synagogues are up high. And frankly, you wouldn't know they were there. They are hidden, and probably purposefully hidden for many reasons. The only way you would know that there was a synagogue ahead of you when you were outside in the square is to see the 5 windows. Do you see the 5 windows of the building? I don't know if Marion, you can point to it, but the cursor there. So the 5 windows there tell us that that is a synagogue building. And those 5 windows represent, of course, the 5 books of the Torah, the Chumash, and they represent the fact that that's a place. The windows looking out and looking in tell us that although concealed, there is a Torah to be learned there, a Torah to value. So this morning, we're also going to look through windows of Torah, the Torah of the wisdom that's come to us by being hidden, and now about, apparently, we'll see, to be more revealed. A Torah of life, a Torah of education, a Torah of what is going to be for us as educators in the next months and year, perhaps, that we move ahead. And we're going to learn about that Torah from 3 of our distinguished educators. So as we come out of perhaps concealment into the wider world again, perhaps we will re-enter the world in a new way. We'll see out of that window in a different way. We will reveal what has been concealed for us, and hopefully it will include perseverance and connection and love and friendship and family and community and all that we have to learn from our sacred Torah, from Matan Torah. So I'm going to hand it back to Marion, and then let's hear from our panel.
Yes, Yasher Koach, Michael, beautiful words, beautiful weaving together our tradition as well as the geography, the topography, the architecture of our peoples dispersed across the globe, how we can all feel connected so much to Torah during this time and every time. So I want to frame this morning's panel a little bit more. We're obviously building towards there. Clearly, one of the things that has motivated these sessions since we began them early on after we all went into quarantine and isolation was that we wanted to find where is the source of inspiration during a time of challenge. And now 2+ months in, we've all been working towards that, thinking about the things that can give us that spark, that inspiration. As I'm sure you all know, and I'm sure you're all flooded with this every day, certainly in the Jewish world and also in the secular world, there are many, many very smart people writing interesting articles every day about what are we going to learn from this and what are we going to frame from this as we move forward. And I think that clearly a lot of those writings are very meaningful and very moving and really can give us some jump starts to thinking about these things. There was a piece just this morning in E-Jewish Philanthropy, again, about resilience and coming through this with resilience. So what I want to do, though, is go back to 1962. I think a few of us on this call probably were alive at that time, but go back to 1962 to one of our great teachers, Abraham Joshua Heschel. And in 1962, he addressed the Rabbinical Assembly about the challenges of Jewish education in 1962. So I want to read this short piece from him, excerpted from that speech. The chief problem of religious education is not only what do what to do with the children who do not attend religious schools, but what to do with those who do attend. The secret of religious education is learning, passion, and conviction. To teach means to impart information as well as to let the pupil share one's appreciation. The problem is not only more hours, more knowledge, but also more relevance and more understanding. Now, I think those words resonate for us in 2020, maybe even more so than they might have resonated in 1962. I also think that given the particular scenarios that we're all living in right now and the way we are, in quote unquote, imparting the information, but where do we find the space and how do we create the space for the pupil to share one's appreciation? So I want to share one very quick video that was put together by our colleague. Actually, Mordechai, you'll appreciate this. I don't know if you saw it yet. Hold on, I gotta get out of that. By a teacher from Temple Israel in Sharon that she posted on Facebook. Yes, let me just get it queued up so that we're there. And then, hold on. Not sure how to get out of, hold on. Okay, we're getting there. Alrighty, I'm going to share the screen and then I'm going to share this quick video that Gila Udowitz posted first thing yesterday morning when it was becoming clear that Zoom was having challenges. Oops. And let's see if I can get it up here. Oops.
Press the green radio button and it'll make it full screen.
Yeah.
God.
Oh, hold on. Let me go back to Gila's beginning.
Appreciate about
Sorry.
today.
I'm not able to give me a sec, please. I just want to I can't get to the bottom of my screen to pull her back to the beginning. Hold on.
I love you all.
Hold on.
Stay wonderful. And even though we're
Marion, if you unshare,
Yeah.
then make it the way you want it and then reshare.
Okay, I'm trying. Okay, gotcha.
There we go.
Big shout out to Debbie for all of her help as usual.
As per usual, yes. Give me a sec. I don't know what to see. And of course, did I unshare or you? Okay.
You're unshared right now. So make it the way you want it on your screen.
Okay.
And share.
I will.
So you've all heard the new word, "Ausgesumt." I am so freaking tired and over Zoom.
Okay, here we go. Everyone can see?
Boker Tov, Boker Tov. Welcome to Temple Israel Religious School. Unfortunately, Zoom isn't working today. Is that a big problem or a small problem? I think it's a small problem. So we're not going to have Zoom today, but we would like you to go outside, find a place that's nice and have a conversation with God. Find something to appreciate about today. And then hopefully we'll be able to meet back up again for class with Mora Ela. I love you all. Stay good, stay wonderful. And even though we're not on Zoom, we're still here, biyachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Thank you all of the parents who were patient this morning as we tried to figure it out. It's a larger Zoom issue that we have to figure out for the rest of our planning today as well. So thank you for being patient. Thank you for teaching your children patience. And we love you all. Either way, it's still going to be a Shavua Tov.
Okay, so thank you, Gila, for sharing that yesterday with our families, but certainly thank you.
All again for your patience and awesomeness.
She's still
Unfortunately,
going.
Zoom still isn't.
All right, I'm back. So I was really touched. I'm sure there's been so many myriad of pieces like this of educators sharing those moments. I hope you all could sort of begin to parse some of the moves that Gila made there to help the children and their families feel seen, feel appreciated, and to connect their real life, their real realities right now with our Jewish tradition and with their own Jewish education. So with that, I want to now open it up to our panelists, and I'm going to ask everybody. Well, I gave and I put this in the reminder yesterday or before the weekend. I asked each of our panelists to come up with their 5 things, a list of 5, like a David Letterman top 5. And I gave 3 different prompts, and people could come at it however they wanted. So I'm just planting the seeds in everybody else's mind right now for you to come up with your list of 5. So it's either, and you can choose from either list, mix and match, etc. 5 things I've learned during this period of isolation and quarantine, 5 things I thought I would never do, and 5 things that I'm going to be doing differently because of who I've become and what I've learned during this time. So keep that in your mind as each of our panelists present. I'm going to start, we're going to do it alphabetical. Is that okay, Eileen? Okay, so Eileen's going to go first, and Debbie is going to put into the chat the lists that Eileen, Tracy, and Mordechai crafted, so you'll be able to see them, but I'm not going to put a slide up. I'm going to let Eileen have the floor.
Okay, so hi everybody. So this was a challenging question in some ways, because it's like, on one hand, there could be too many things to say. On one hand, there's also not sure if it's enough things to say. So mine are a little bit of a combination of largely school related and a little bit of personal stuff thrown in. So, so Marian, should I just read them and maybe just add a little commentary, or is that what I should be doing? Or
yes, read them. Okay. Thanks for asking, Eileen, because this is what I'd like to do. It's 10:38. I want to give the panelists, each one a good chunk. But what I'd like to do is each panelist read your 5, say a few analysis words, and then everybody can. I want each of the panelists to have a chance, in addition to writing your own 5 in the chat, write any questions in the chat, and then we'll open up after each of the 3 speak.
Great.
Okay. Everyone got that? Okay. Go ahead.
So the first thing was that I will endeavor to be more consistently mindful and appreciative of those who are often unseen by me, but whose work eases and enriches my life. And I think, we're thinking about all the doctors and the nurses and all those people, but I find myself thinking during the day about the people harvesting the food and getting it to the grocery store, and the guy slicing behind the deli counter, and like how many layers there are before I get what I need, and that those people are working out in the field every day, whatever, while I can be doing what I need to do from home, and just to be mindful and grateful for people like that. And then just thoughts about distance learning. So number 2, I've generally been resistant to distant learning as a modality and as a substitute for existing community. I've generally been resistant to distance learning as a modality and a substitute for face-to-face learning in community. That said, I recognize now that it can have huge value in an existing community. The key is to target it, customize it, and connect with it. So I've always sort of resisted things like Shalom Learning, even though we've used it in school. But, the idea that kids who don't know each other with teachers they don't know, creating these, virtual communities, I'm thinking about it a little differently, but particularly in how it helps us as an existing community to stay together. Number 3, I will see my students differently. There were actually a number of surprises that came out of this experience. We noted fewer behavioral challenges, which was interesting, and also observed that while many kids were able to make Zoom learning work successfully, we also saw kids who might have otherwise been functioning well in class, but then not have the capacity to learn at a distance in lockdown. This was often a reflection of how they were coping in general, but it was the kids who were reacting in certain ways weren't always the kids that you expected to react in certain ways. And so to be able to see that deeper level of the kids and what they were able to, to take on and to do. I also will see my teachers differently. They too were thrust into something very new and all rose amazingly well in keeping with their own capacity to the occasion. And yet there were degrees and variations to be mindful of, especially as we anticipate needing to continue distantly in the fall. You know, there were the teachers that no matter what the challenge was of what to learn, ran to it, grabbed it, took it on, and teachers that, I don't want to say kicking and screaming, there was none of that. It was mostly fine, but teachers who did it with a little bit more reluctance and hesitation, and how to kind of be thinking about that going forward. And then finding the things that Zoom actually really works much better for in terms of time savings and efficiency. You know, staff meetings on Zoom were great. I mean, that was, nobody had to go anywhere or be living, you know, you could just, in general, meetings and all those things really were great. So there were myriad things that were an improvement. And this was just, I just added a little 6 things, but just on a personal note, that while I have surprised myself in what I have been able to learn about Zoom and distance learning, it also makes me realize that I still have so much more to learn in using the tools to greater advantage. So that's it.
Fantastic, Eileen. Thank you so much. And I want to share with this group, and I'm sure maybe it's even some of you that I've spoken to, that notion of seeing children differently, that on Zoom, many of the teachers began to see the children differently. Someone just said to me yesterday, actually, when they see their whole classroom on the Brady Bunch or the Hollywood Squares, they're able to make eye contact with every single child, as opposed to when they're in the classroom and sort of their back may be turned, or they're sort of focusing on one corner of the room, or kids are in a whatever. So just so many things that we're learning. I think many of us share the kinds of things that Eileen shared. And Eileen, I am so inspired, I guess, when you say, you know, because you and I are of the same generation of like, we still have so much to learn and so much energy to continue learning. So Eileen, thank you for sharing that concept of wanting to still learn how to do more with virtual learning. All right, we're going to turn to Tracy now. And Deb, can you put Tracy's list in the chat, please?
Good morning, everybody. Tracy Cranston here, Temple Tiferet Shalom in Peabody. And so my 5 things aren't that far from Eileen's. So it's in the chat. The first thing I have is that technology is your friend. We were very skeptic about the idea of, before all this happened, that kids could have the option to stay at home and learn or come to school. We're a very traditional school. But what we've learned is that technology is our friends now. We can keep in constant contact with people, even when we're in isolation. But we've realized that for many of our students, the social distance has provided them the opportunity to actually participate more. They're not distracted by their friends next to them. They're also, many of them are in the comfort of their own homes. Their parents are right nearby. So they still have that secure environment. They're very comfortable, but they're also in their own bedrooms. So they feel very free to talk and say things that we don't normally get out of them when we're in a school environment with all those distractions. And the mute all button is amazing. You know, it's the time to cut down on disciplining is absolutely incredible. I get through an hour lesson because I keep my kids on for a full hour when I see them, the 6th graders, and they don't have a problem staying on. They unmute themselves when they want to talk, or I have their list right next to me and I'll call on them by their last name in alphabetical order, and nobody passes, everybody speaks. So it's a really incredible. That never happens in class. I get a pass all the time, so that's great. The second thing is that the parents are enjoying the continued learning for themselves. I see a lot of parents in the background of my Zooms, and they never get a chance to see what goes on in our classrooms. And so this is their opportunity to have eyes on what's actually going on in the school, in the class. I send out something that inspired me during these past 10 weeks is to send out a weekly Shabbat message where I take the Torah portion and I'm trying to teach the parents with the Torah portion and how it relates. And I find myself really enjoying this connection. delving a little bit deeper into Torah, which is something that I do specific for curriculum, but I don't take the time to do it for myself. So it's been very therapeutic for me in sharing the message with the parents, and they are loving it. I'm getting lots of great feedback. So great to hear from you. Glad the school year is continuing for another 2 months. We really miss seeing everybody. So the parents love learning too, which is great. Normally we just wave to them in the carpool line, but now we're actually connecting with them, which is something I don't usually get to do. The teachers, number 3, teachers can and will step it up. I've never been more proud of the majority of my teachers that have learned how to scan, learn how to attach to emails, learn how to Zoom, learn how to share the screen, learn how to be comfortable talking in a room by themselves to a screen full of people. That's something they're not used to doing. I also have the opportunity as the head of the school to sit in on all their Zooms. I've scheduled it so that I can sit there, which they don't love, but they've learned to embrace. I don't usually get the opportunity to go in and view everybody and see everybody all the time. So I love this opportunity to see, you know, what are they doing outside of the books? How are they being creative? And I found that they're figuring it out. They're figuring it out. They're creating videos for Zoom that they would never do in the class. They've never done in the classroom. They are just using YouTube more to share the screen. And they're really embracing this idea of getting more interactive. And it's wonderful. A lot of online cooking, which they love. Number 4, our school year ended too early. We always end the first Sunday. And it seems with this situation, the idea of having our school year go longer works well. What we have seen is that the drop off of how many people participated is going, we're down to 50%. We had all Zoom sessions this week for our first week of extended learning, and it was basically 50% in each classroom, whereas 2 weeks ago we were having closer to 85, 90%. So for some people, they're in summer mode, they're done. But we're there for those people that still need it. So 50% of the kids in our school and the families in our school are still getting on the Zoom and still participating. So I don't know if next year we would extend our year. Usually by Mother's Day, we lose everybody. But it's an option to keep it going online, an online presence, and see who signs up, which would be great. And the last thing that I've learned is that the textbooks are good, but the internet resources are incredible. They can be overwhelming. There's a lot everywhere. But I love, like with Marion, she has all these windows that she's gonna share. And when I'm doing my classroom, my Zoom classroom, I've got all my windows ready to share, and the kids love it. You know, they love the interaction. They love that they don't have to print up. Some kids are very visual. They have to print it up themselves. Others are so used to the screen, they just love looking at the screen. They don't have to hold it in their hands, but they love focusing on the screen, and their attention is excellent. You know, I've learned how to, like I said, create videos. I've learned how to make crossword puzzles for free to engage the kids with different things that they're learning. And like I said, these kids are a different generation. They grew up with screens. They grew up with technology. So for them, this is not so crazy. This is not so isolating. They're very familiar with it, and they're okay with it. So the more that we can show them that we're getting what they know, I think the more appreciative they are. So those are my 5.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Tracy, so much. Again, like this notion of the resilience, the creativity, the innovation, it's coming through. And this really is an unprecedented moment for us for all kinds of reasons, but for the positive, for the creativity that we're going to come out of this with. So thank you, Tracy. Mordechai, Acharon Chaviv, Eifo ata.
I'm right here. Can you hear me? Just wave a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I apologize if I look funny, but I'm using 2 screens, which I can recommend to all of you as a very big help. As I see Marion, for example, struggling with finding windows. So I can tell you that if you can get an extra screen, no matter the size, it's very, very helpful. So my 5 things, hiring good people makes all of the difference in tough times. We have excellent staff, and I always tell people that, you know, I'm just some principal, but really the frontline people are the staff people, and their adjustments, the adjustments that they've been making have been spectacular. I can tell you that we did lose one staff person who took this opportunity to say that, you know what, they've had enough. I'll keep it gender neutral so we don't have too much information, but I don't think they were able to adapt, and they got scared. We thought they were excellent, but there was some kind of breaking point that came about as a result of this experience, and they didn't feel like they could make that transition. Stop thinking about crises and begin to think about opportunities. I have been, at the same time, I only work part-time for the temple, and I've been doing a master's degree at Hornstein. And I've really come to recognize that this is a significant shift, that, you know, if we think about crisis, then we're always in crisis. We're always thinking about, oh my God, what is next? What's next? But it's really an opportunity, right? Wow, we have so much of a chance here. And I think we took that off. I had a moment where I remembered thinking, oh my God, I'm going to lose staff. I was right about one person. And then I shifted my mind from crisis to opportunity, and I was able to sort of move ahead and to adapt kind of quickly. This is kind of funny, but it's not so funny. Take science fiction a little bit seriously. You know, there's so many things that we've seen come to fruition that we never thought could be real. Now, I don't think that we're going to have an alien invasion in the near future, but nobody thought there would be a pandemic. And, you know, nobody thought that airplanes would crash into the World Trade Center. You know, all of these things are not something we can ever plan for, but there are people in the world who think in these kind of peculiar terms. Take yourself a moment every now and then and say, well, if something happened, what would it be? So what if there was a 3-day snowstorm? Or what if there was a 5-day water shortage? Who knows what it is? But it's worthwhile having those kind of moments of fantasy to kind of think and plan. I noted here as point A in my 3A here. When I was a kid, I once asked my dad, what do armies do when they're not fighting wars? And he said, well, they plan. And, you know, we don't want to apply the concept of war to the work that we do, but we should always be planning, right? So if you were to organize a staff meeting going forward, you might say, okay, let's have a 10-minute fantasy period where we think like, oh, what could happen? What's the most outlandish thing we could imagine? Things I would like to continue. So I was introduced as the director of education for the temple, but I'm not. I'm actually just the principal of the religious school, and I also do operations work for the temple. So I have a good concept of what's going on in the whole temple, but I'm not in charge of adult education. I'm not responsible for other aspects of educational programming. We have an early childhood center. We have Gila, who you saw. She does a lot of education work for us, and we have Rabbi Rachel Silverman, who's the rabbi. We have 2 rabbis. She's the rabbi who's in charge of education in the meta sense. What I understood from the very beginning is that we are the only show in town. All of the schools closed down. All the public schools were closed. And that meant that, you know, unionized people, administration, they were not reaching out to families. So rather than just taking a perspective of, okay, we're a religious school, so I'll send out a Parsha sheet every day or every 3 days, or I'll send out Lego, you know, here's a recipe to cook challah. What we actually did is we took a whole family concept. And we said, here's an article that mom and dad might want to read. Here's 5 ideas to do with your middle schoolers. Here's 3 ideas to do with little kids. And I've been sending out a list of activities, web links, articles. I would say 4 or 5 out of 7 days every week since the whole pandemic began. So I can tell you that it has been a little bit of a strain at times to come up with interesting and novel things to do. You know, there's only so many zoos that are open that I can send kids to watch videos. But I have tried to keep that up. And most recently, I kind of hit a wall with it, and I wrote to the families and said, you know what, I don't have anything to share today, but I can share with you what's going on in my household, you know, to show them like, you know, there's challenges here and there's opportunities. Some of these are struggles. And I invited other families if they were willing to share. And a couple of families did write to me saying, hey, this is what's going on, and we could really use this kind of help. But we were very clear not to pigeonhole ourselves as only the opportunity for Torah thought, because that often ends up going right into the wastebasket, right? Whatever it's called, the recycling bin in your computer. And then finally, a lot of people have already mentioned this, but Zoom on snow days is kind of an obvious thing right now. I love snow days personally. It was my greatest fulfillment when I was able to cancel school the first time. But it seems like that's never ever going to happen again. And I'm a little disappointed by that, but it is what it is. I can definitely suggest Zoom committee meetings, as you all know, and mentioned already. I don't need to get together with everybody at 8 o'clock in the evening on a Tuesday. I would rather do it from my house or my home and cut down on some of that stuff. And what else? And I think going forward, we will continue to do Zoom stuff. We didn't used to do Havdalah, right, online. I made a joke recently on Facebook that Zoom Havdalah is the new, I have a blog on Times of Israel, right? Every rabbi in the world suddenly is doing Zoom Havdalah. And I'll share also, I'm a rabbi and I have a lot of colleagues who are rabbis. A lot of them have expressed a fear of relevance, right? So they're trying to get in front of cameras, but it's very sad because there are people who are in fear of their jobs because they don't feel like they're relevant anymore. So that is something very important to recognize, is that your relevance is not only dependent upon, it is dependent upon being in people's lives. And if you're so distant because they're not in your building, then you really have to continue to maintain your relevance. That's what I have to share right now. And I'm sorry the washing machine is going if you hear that noise, but I'm happy to take questions. And Marian, back to you.
Yasher Koach to all three of you. Again, I really feel the energy of these ideas that you've all been implementing, the challenges that you've identified in your 5, and above all else, the opportunity. So I do want to open it up. We're 19 people on the Zoom, of course, 5. So 3 of us, Michael, Deb, and I, we don't have, and 3 presenters. So we're a small enough group. I'd love to have everybody. If you feel like there's something you want to reflect on, either your analysis of the moves Gila made in her little video, or on anything that you heard from Eileen, Tracy, or Mordechai, please just either raise your hand like this and I'll call on you, or just open up and I'll see that you're unmuted yourself. So Rini, you unmuted yourself. Is that correct? No, nope.
But I'm happy to speak for a minute.
Okay, anyone want to sort of digest and say something? Now you do, Rini?
I have to go back to Marcia's meditation and not feel like I have to say something. But truly, some of the things that I had been thinking in my list is the opportunity to really get to know kids in a very different way, and parents, and thinking about whether or not this is a requirement by my administration, but to implement on my own opportunities to meet one-on-one with students and ask for the parents, hopefully the parents as well, because I think it changes, we all talk about the importance of relationships and your relationships with kids. And I think if you get those personal relationships with the kids, the dynamics in the classroom, when we do meet in person, will also change. So that has been the biggest thought for me.
Lovely, really beautiful. Andrea.
I was really struck by that. One of the biggest changes that I learned is that our Hebrew school went to one-on-one tutoring while the Sunday school stayed group and classroom focused. And it occurred to me when you said that about relationships, that we spend most of our classroom time working on the relationships between the kids in the classroom and the overall social dynamic. And I think this was a really good chance to discover how that one-on-one relationship with your teacher can actually improve the entire classroom dynamic, coming at it from that angle. I found that the Sunday classes worked magically, in part more smoothly for the kids who had the Hebrew school one-on-one with the same teacher who was their Sunday school teacher, because they had that rapport. So that was a really interesting thing to think of.
Lovely. And Mordechai Poda. youcanbookme.com is a place you can set up one-on-ones. Thank you, Mordecai. Any other reflections on what, Robin? Unmute yourself, my friend.
You know, I have this like bingo board, like Zoom bingo board on my computer, like that. Like I feel like I should print it out, and you know, every day I would get bingo every 5 minutes. I thought Gila's video was brilliant. I was like, in 1 minute, she basically summarized like exactly what happened 10 weeks ago. It wasn't a big or a little problem. It was a big problem. But I just thought it was this beautiful, simple, quick pivot that was content rich. It was about a relation. It was like you can have a relationship. It was warm. She clearly has a relationship with the kids. They have a relationship with God, because she couldn't give them that assignment if they didn't already have that. So I'm like blown away by that 1 minute and 7 seconds. And if you can get a copy of that, I'd love to.
So let me say a couple of things. Gila is spectacular. Gila works for me or with me. She does a lot of different things around the table. Around the temple. She teaches in our early childhood center. She works with middle schoolers for USY, and she teaches a few different grades in the religious school, and she does Shabbat programming, right? So she's like our Swiss Army educator. So I want to point out that like I'm watching the video as someone who watches her work all the time and really enjoys watching her work. So she, first of all, is extremely positive in general. She actually sent me an email today when she saw the invitation to this program and was like, "Oh, we're so proud of you, Mordechai." So I'm amazed that my employee, as it were, my direct report, actually upwards gives praise, which is an amazing thing about her. The big problem, little problem thing is something that she uses all of the time in school. So it's something the kids already know, right? That it wouldn't work if it was from nowhere. So when a kid comes to her and says, "I don't have scissors," right? And so she looks at them and she says, "Is that a big problem or is that a little problem?" Right? And we do that all the time, and it goes from, you know, pre-K all the way up until the 7th or 8th grade. And so that's a really big thing. The notion of actually having God and relationships in a conservative temple, at least in my experience, is pretty novel. And so I think for, at least in today's day and age, so I think for her, that's a great, it's great praise for her. I'm Orthodox, and so people get a little bit nervous around me, but she does like the God stuff around us. And I think that's very important because she's very approachable. So I think that's also a very important point there. But I will try and download the video. I already tried.
Okay, so actually, thank you, Mordecai, for piping in, because first of all, of course, I asked Gila's permission when I'm a member at Temple Israel Sharon, so I'm on that Facebook page. I asked her permission, of course, if I could share it with you, and she was flattered. And so I obviously shared it right from Facebook. One other thing I want to say to add to Mordecai, what he said about Gila and about that video, you also notice she kept to the children's routines. And the big problem, little problem thing, but the Boker Tov, Lehitra, I forgot what did she sing at the end? Tevenu Shalom, or whatever it was she was singing at the end. These are the children.
Yeah. She said Shavua Tov, which is her thing, and also she said Hine Matov was what she was singing.
Hine Matov. And it's going to be a Shavua Tov, like.
Yeah.
Robin, what did you say?
Oh, and then she said it's going to be a Shavua Tov, and she gave a big thumbs up, which is also, I imagine, part of her in a good way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yep.
She can be a little bit cheesy, but it's good for kids.
It's great.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments? I'm just also keeping an eye on the clock. Anyone else want to pipe in? Rachel.
So I want to tie into what Marcia took us through with the idea of Shema, of listening. For those of you that don't know me, I worked as part of the team of Jewish education in Hebrew College. And one of the things when all of the pandemic started, I actually took a step back, and usually I run ahead and do things, but I was really sitting back and waiting for people to come, and I was listening to educators. And over time, we created different programming and support for educators based on what they asked for. And I think this is something maybe to think about when we're thinking about families and the children, to listen to their needs and then provide something that will be based on that. I think this is like one of my big takeaway from that time is really, really listening and feeling okay to sit back and doing something with that.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to end this part of our meeting, our gathering, our conversation with a continuation of Heschel's 1962 speech. Okay? The secret of effective teaching lies in making a pupil a contemporary of the living moment of teaching. The outcome is not only the retention of the content of teaching, but also of the moment of teaching. It's not enough for the pupil to appropriate the subject matter. The pupil and the teacher must go through significant moments sharing insight and appreciation. So in this day and age, when we are not struggling, but challenged with how do we keep that community going? And Mordechai said something about the rabbis being concerned about their relevance. But if we continue, as it sounds like the three presenters did, and I know for a fact many of you are continuing to keep the pupil and the teacher connected through significant moments, sharing insights and appreciation, I think our future will be incredibly robust and really create some amazing innovations for our whole community here locally in Boston, obviously Beth in Florida, and beyond. So I want to just, before I turn to Beth to do our closing bracha, I want to just say a few words about these sessions that we've had, and to think about what we'll be doing coming up in, later in the spring and in the early summer. We convened these originally because we felt when the pandemic hit and there was this frenetic energy of what do we do and who should we go to and what, we really felt very strongly that number one, as a school of education that services the whole community through professional development, we had a lot to offer in terms of how do you support educators when there's something settling. And one of the first things that you do is bring it back to the core, bring it back to grounding us in our Jewish tradition, in our learning, in text, and in behaviors that we can adapt and model for ourselves and apply to our students. So thank you all for sharing this morning with Marcia's teaching and with Michael's teaching. And of course, many, many thanks to Marcia and Michael and to our teachers who have shared with us over the past number of weeks. We also wanted to make sure that that we kept front and center our students and their needs. And it sounds like we've continued to keep that focus. And I really so appreciate how each and every one of you are doing that and how we will continue to do that. And last but not least, of course, is for each of us as educators to bring our authentic selves to the endeavor. So what I want to say as we wrap up today's session is and the bracha I give to us, is to keep those three things in mind always, that we stay grounded in the Jewish tradition, that we keep the needs of our students and their families front and center, and that we remain true to our authentic selves as we go forward in what's not going to be a quick fix end to this. It's going to be, I don't want to use the term new normal. I think we are continually growing and changing and innovating, whether it's a pandemic or whether it's just Thursday morning. And that's the beauty of being. These are the ways that we resilience. These are the ways that we remain creative and innovative. And I certainly look forward to working with many of you as you begin to implement and plan for what's next. Just on a logistics note, the Monday that we would be, I personally, if we were continuing with the every 2 weeks, I personally have a conference. I'd like to suggest the Monday, I think it's June 15th, if the group wants to continue, give me a thumbs up or not, or of course, let me know privately. Michael's giving me the thumbs up, I guess it's a thumbs up. I'd love to continue. I have found these very just enriching for myself, and obviously I've had a lot on pulling them together as well. last but not least, before I turn it to Beth, we just partnered on, and I saw that Temple Israel and Natick as well, with an initiative called the Days of Gratitude. It's going to be on May 22nd, which I guess is Thursday, whatever day this week. Robin, do you want to say a sentence about it?
Sure. It's being spearheaded by a group that runs out of Israel called M Squared, the Institute for Experiential Jewish Education. M Squared should really be Mem Squared. It's Ma'aseh v'Machshava. And I did a training, a fellowship program with them. Their stuff is all rooted in Jewish values. They've pulled together some amazing people to work together on this project. One of the women, Elisa Rabinowitz, her father, David Moss, did the Moss Haggadah, which some of you may be familiar with. But when this all started, they waited about a month before they put anything out. And I just can't say how amazing the webinars and stuff that they've run for their alumni have been. And if you go to their website, they have these immersive experiences that explore Jewish values. And gratitude is probably has built this 10 days of gratitude. They've taken this idea that happens between Yom HaAtzmaut and Yom and Yom, I don't know which the days are in Israel, and built them up to the 10 days before Shavuot. But I just can't say enough amazing things about how content rich and creative this group is, and highly recommend you check out their website, and especially these value sparks. I'll see if I can quickly find it.
Okay, and what I'm going to, my plan is, I'm really watching the time, so let me just quickly say this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Beth, and then we'll, from 11:15 to 11:30, we'll stay on. My plan is, again, we partnered on, I believe we get a daily something from May 22nd until Shavuot. I will send that out to our group, and of course, each of you can join as well. I want to turn over to Beth for our closing bracha, and then again we'll stay open until 11:30 so we can continue the conversation. So Beth, please share a bracha with us.
Thank you. So I'm Beth Penamacore from Temple Beit Hayam in Stuart, Florida, and I'm the cantorial soloist and the director of education. And as many of us struggle with what songs to end our Shabbat services, when Marian asked me if I would sing the final song today, I wanted to sing something that talks about the difficult times that we're all going through in today's world. Debbie Friedman had the amazing talent to put words from our liturgy and our Torah to music, which ends up telling a story in such a way that we can relate to what we're living today. So in this song, Debbie begins with the chorus and then tells us the story. So if you know "Sow in Tears," please sing along with me. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. It's the song of the dreamer, from the dark place it grows, like a flower in the desert, the oasis of our souls. Come back where we belong. You who hear our longing cries, our mouths, our lips are filled with song. You can see our tear-filled eyes. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Thank you.
Gosh, Kochech, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you to everybody. Beautiful moments this morning. Thank you, of course, to Mordechai and Eileen and Tracy and Michael and Marcia. Thank you. And again, I'm going to leave the room open till 11:30 so we can continue our conversation. But of course, if you have to go and move on to your next thing, by all means. But beautiful to see everybody this morning, and thank you all.
Thanks, Beth. That was beautiful. Really great choice. I see that they're going to think about the concert in October at Carnegie Hall for her. Whether they'll do it or not, I can't imagine they will. But who cares? We can do it next year. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be this year, does it?
Eileen, I know I cut you short before. Do you want to continue on your thought if you can remember where you were?
Oh, I didn't feel cut short. Was that?
No, just now, like right before we transitioned to the bracha. I'm going to say, when we were talking about the days of gratitude.
Oh, yeah. So I was just going to ask Robin is, I know Micha Goodman from the Hartman Institute and Bay Prat, that was something that he's promoted. Is this the same thing,
I believe
Robin?
so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's modeled after what he did at Bay Prat, and it's now this thing that's going to be available. Yeah,
it's wonderful.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
I think the Maimonides Fund is funding this, and well, I'm pretty sure the Maimonides Fund funds this initiative.
Yeah, what you
Definitely
should know
worth checking out.
Robin, I actually know people at the Maimonides Fund, people who are behind the Maimonides Fund. So anything specific you want communicated, I will have an opportunity to do so this week.
Mordechai has something he wants you to communicate to them. Would you share?
Okay.
Share a word about our lab, Mordechai? Not to put you on the spot, but you're muted.
Mordechai, you're muted.
You're muted, Mordechai.
Anyone can reach out to me with those messages they want to get to them. My phone number is 617-413-5008.
Say it again, Susie. I'm putting it in the chat. 617.
617-413-5008. Or email me at susie1818@gmail.com. It just happens that I'm meeting with the person this week.
Okay. Mordechai, are you with us? Did you hear all that? I think he may be working on something else right now. Okay.
No, sorry. My kid's orthodontist called while we're on the, you know how it is.
Yes.
I missed something, I'm sorry.
I'll talk to you privately about it afterwards.
Okay, I also heard Micha Goodman's name, and I really enjoyed learning from him this summer, or this winter, so if that could be explained to me also, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
That was we were sharing about this Days of Gratitude initiative that comes from M Square. Are you familiar with that? Yeah. Okay, great.
I will be after I Google it. Thank you.
What I was about to say, the graphics for this are by an artist who, his first name's Dove. I'm blanking on his last name. But he did an amazing series for Beit Tefillah Yisraeli, who do the massive public sukkah at the Namal in Tel Aviv every year. And he also did, and actually as part of that initiative, he did these ushpizot of contemporary women. So like it was 7 women who you invited in. There was Golda Meir and Chana Senesh, I think Naomi Shemer, but beautiful graphics and really moving great stuff. So definitely check it out. And again, I'll be, because I just signed Hebrew College up as a partner, I'll be sending out, I think it's going to be a daily something that I'll send out. So you'll all get that. Anything else? Andrea, remind us where you teach. Are you at Dorshet Tzedek?
I'm at Dorshet Tzedek, the religious school program. And I originally Shachar Colt sent something out to all her teachers, and the first session was so incredible. So I'm back.
Great. So I hope, did you get, are you on our email list now?
I was not apparently on the email list, but so I got this forwarded to me. I was actually supposed to just have a meeting with someone who I met from this group, from Lori. And she said, oh, it clashed, our meeting time clashes with the main meeting, and she forwarded me the invitation. So I'm apparently not on the list.
Okay, well, I did get your email address and Debbie will add you. I know Debbie's probably dealing with her daughter right now, but she'll hear this on the recording and she'll see it in the chat. So we'll definitely get you on the mailing list.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gretchen, are you frozen or are you with us? You looked frozen. Unmute. Okay, nothing to say?
I'm muted.
Just wanted to. Okay, all right. Does anyone have, I see, most of us are, it's the Hebrew Eileen, go ahead. Eileen, go ahead.
I just have one question that is utterly and completely unrelated to anything that we've talked about, but has been on my mind since I've spent part of the time binge watching Fauda, which I had not watched before. So my big question is whether Lior Raz is related to you, Rachel Raz. No, okay.
Okay, but what you should know, the writer, Noah Stolman, is Seth Stolman's brother. Seth Stolman's a community member here in Sharon. You may know him, Eileen.
Yes.
When the new season started a couple of weeks ago, Seth hosted on Facebook Live. He interviewed his brother. I didn't get to see it, but yeah. So Seth's brother Noah is the writer on.
Some of the Razes.
Thank you for that piece of trivia, and thank you.
Some of the
Razes. Our Raz used to be Rosenbaum. Shortened.
And some of them are Rackover. It's a
so
change.
you're all, okay, so Lior,
Yeah, we're not really related.
Andrea, go ahead.
Yeah, I was giving my official paid religious school credentials, but I did want to mention that my home synagogue, so to speak, is Kadima Torah Moshe in Brighton. And I've been doing a ton of, the unpaid stuff for them forever, including running children's groups. And I'm a storyteller. So I've worked with a lot of the congregations in town. I actually came into formal Jewish education as a staff storyteller and floating sub at Dorsey was how that became. And now I'm a classroom teacher and doing Hebrew school. But I still do storytelling, and I recognized a lot of people from that affiliation.
Lovely connections, and Jewish geography. I taught adult ed at Dorsey Tzedek about 25 years ago. And when my husband and I first got married and lived on the Brighton Brookline border, we went to Kadima Torah Moshe. So just a lot of interesting connections. Lovely, lovely. Anyone else? So is it okay? We'll close off. Again, just thanks so much, everyone. Mordecai, I do have like a few minutes until my next thing. If you want just a quick phone call, and I can talk to you, make the connection with you and Susie about